Top 5 Best presents Passerby couldn't believe what someone left inside an abandoned house. Before we begin, do us a favor by clicking that like button and subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories every day. On average, a single person will move house around 12 times during their lifetime, and some people move around much more frequently. It's not unusual to sell off personal possessions or loose things during the process either, especially if you're moving long distances or very suddenly. After all, people move for an assortment of reasons, including work, family, or in the case of refugees, even in search of greater religious freedoms or personal safety. Each move is unique, both the motivation and the method. Some spend months planning their move, while others pick up and flee overnight, usually when there's a conflict with a property owner or a landlord. But when one family moved out of their home in Russia, it wasn't the reason that shocked the neighbors, but what they left behind. In 2007, a family from Yaroslavl picked up and moved very suddenly. In the process, they packed up a small number of belongings, leaving the house seemingly abandoned. Many neighbors didn't notice their absence right away, but there were strange noises coming from inside the house that began to draw the attention of a passerby. One particular woman passed the house daily, but one day she heard a child screaming inside. As far as she was concerned, the child's parents were living in the house, so she assumed it was harmless and carried on with her rounds. However, she passed the same house the next day and heard the same screaming, only hoarser and more exhausted. This difference made her curious, and she began to investigate the property. She soon realized that whoever had lived there clearly left in a hurry, and there was a very good chance that the house was in fact abandoned. This prompted her to call police. Upon arriving, the police saw the property had definitely been abandoned, and they took measures to enter. But nothing had prepared them for what they found inside. Along with a few scattered belongings, Yaroslavl police found a screaming baby. The child was all alone and badly dehydrated. Fearing the absolute worst, authorities rushed the baby girl to the hospital, where officials were able to begin investigating the situation in much greater detail. Apart from severe dehydration, the 1-year-old was also suffering from malnourishment, and even more shockingly, a fractured hip. After a little bit of digging, it was determined that the girl's name was Liza Verbitskaya. It was an important first step, but her parents were still nowhere to be found. Liza was not developing as quickly as she should have been, and it was clear the baby had a pretty rough start to life. But as doctors were continuing to do everything in their power to give her the best chance possible, a guardian angel was lurking nearby. Ina Naika had been at the hospital overnight with her sick son when she heard young Liza crying from a nearby room. This caused Ina to begin asking the staff questions about her, and before long, she had heard the young girl's touching story, and she couldn't help but want to spend time comforting her. Liza and Ina grew closer and closer, and even after her son had been discharged, Ina continued visiting the little girl, bringing her new clothes, food, and toys. But one day when she showed up, the staff informed Ina that her little friend had been moved to an orphanage. She quickly realized she wasn't prepared to see Liza get lost in the system, and she quickly reached out to the orphanage where she was being housed. Knowing what she had already been through, Ina wanted to ensure that Liza would never be abandoned or neglected ever again. Together with staff at the facility, she began examining what options were available for Liza's care. The result was a lot of paperwork, which eventually allowed her to take young Liza into her home and raise her alongside her own son, an environment rich in love, happiness, and support. Wanting to encourage every aspect of the young girl's bright and creative personality, she enrolled her in dance classes for young children. With the help of the classes, Liza was soon catching up to her peers in motor and social skills. But there was still one particular difference between her and the rest of the children. Ina and her son were both light-skinned, but Liza was noticeably darker. She was also much darker than her classmates, and she was often teased and bullied for her appearances. Ina talked about how her adopted daughter dealt with these times. She's not ashamed of who she is. When she was little, I told her, people will always stare at you. Be prepared for it. But soon, little Liza had tuned all the negativity out, and she was busy excelling as a star dance pupil. Now Liza is in her teens and well known for her dance talents, having won numerous competitions before branching out into beauty pageants. As Liza became more and more famous, her biological mother saw her and tried to make contact. At the time of this video, she has denied all attempts and continues to excel in her career with the support of Ina. An estimated 130 million people are currently raising children in the US alone, and another 80 million people have used fertility treatments. If you are among the millions of parents or the millions who long to be parents, it's probably very difficult for you to fathom abandoning your child for anything in the world. But yet, that is exactly what happened to young Liza. Luckily, Ina was able to save her, and provide her the type of love and encouragement that all children should know. Thank you for watching. Tap one of the 2 videos on screen for another amazing story.